Okay, so I'm really pleased to be joined now by Vineet Singhal, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Relsus. So now, if you didn't know Relsus, they're a Singapore-based company specializing in the production of high-quality plant-based protein and specialty starches. Now, founded in 2020, the company's mission is to provide sustainable and healthy food solutions to meet the growing global demand for plant-based products. Vineet, welcome to Protein Production Technology International.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Now, before we get into the company, your company, it would be nice to get to know you a bit. So, what's been your own journey into food tech? I mean, I've seen your CV and it reads like a who's who of some of the major companies in the world.
Yes, indeed. So I've worked for indeed many companies in my career. I have experience of more than 25 years, and have actually worked in many companies, including also active pharmaceutical ingredients production, which is actually closely connected to what we are basically doing here, and it even supports what we are doing, because sometimes getting the perspective from pharmaceutical antibiotics production in B2B space actually is add-on, and that we think is actually a benefit that we are able to carry on into the food ingredients business. Probably I can also explain during the course of our interaction later on how it's actually helping us in this. But besides this, I've also overseen businesses of overall nutrition, but also in very different industries which are not exactly directly related to food tech, but at the same time helps in overall getting the outside-in perspective.
Mhm. Now, given your company's role in plant-based proteins, I'm keen to understand the company's origins and the specific factors that drove to its establishment. Could you elaborate on the inspiration behind founding the company and the perspectives that the founding team brings to the table?
Yeah, so Relsus is founded by a team of five highly experienced people with combined experience of about 125 years. Out of that, majority, a bulk of that experience comes from working for an API company, multinational active pharmaceutical ingredients company, where one of the founders is has been working on the R&D part. He has co-owned certain patents in various technologies, which are actually very directly related to the technology that we have developed in Relsus. One of the co-founders has been working during his career in projects and operations and continuous improvement. That is also very relevant to Relsus. And one of the co-founders has been working on global marketing and sales, and has been spearheading the cause for sustainable antibiotics to overcome the antimicrobial resistance that has been spreading throughout the globe, and also the pharmaceutical companies in a way also contributing to it. So she has been actually spearheading the response from the pharmaceutical companies to fight against the AMR. And one of the co-founders has been our finance and control CFO, basically for the business unit Asia, Middle East, and Africa. That company and myself have been actually leading the company for the business unit Asia, Middle East, and Africa for this company, and thereafter also for other companies, both regional as well as global roles. So this is the company founders. So very strong pedigree of the founders. Now the motivation for finding this company and then working on plant-based proteins actually has been that we have actually worked extensively during our careers, long careers. But when we look at overall climate change and the response, and we feel that it's our collective responsibility, especially for our generation. We believe it's our responsibility in this generation to leave a better world for the next generations. And from the perspective of working for last about 25 to 30 years in our careers respectively, why not spend rest of our careers actually fighting the climate change? And when we look at overall the contributors for greenhouse gas emissions, we believe based on all the readings, about more than 1/3 of the global greenhouse gas emissions are coming from the current food systems. And protein transition essentially is we believe an area which is absolutely needed, without which we cannot really achieve our Paris climate deal targets. And according to our own experiences, and we believe the technology that we can visualize, and based on the discussions that we have been having with the customers, associate industry members, we believe if some of the roadblocks that the industry has been facing can be overcome, for example, on the functionalities and the sensory profile of the products, besides of course the clean and hygienic and security of supplies. If you're able to solve those technological and business model solutions, we can actually make a positive impact towards the protein transition. That has been the biggest motivator for us. One is personal, that we believe it's our personal responsibility as experienced professionals to not leave the world which is worse than actually when we took over ourselves in the industry. That's one. And second, based on our experience, which is mainly coming from the active pharmaceutical ingredients, working on various technologies, we believe we can actually solve a problem of protein transition faced by the plant-based proteins, and we can contribute positively. That was the whole purpose of building Relsus, and we feel very, very proud of what we actually did, and I think we have crossed several choppy waters, I must say, over the last 4 years, and we've come to a stage where we think we are contributing now and ready to really make an impact.
Yeah. Oh, you should be proud, and you've achieved a lot in a relatively short space of time. Now, it's a crowded marketplace as well. So, could you explain how Relsus differentiates its approach from other companies in this space?
Yeah. So, as I said, based on our interaction with the industry members, we believe that the two aspects that we need to really solve. One is, getting the right product, which essentially includes, getting the right quality of material to start with, both from a sustainability perspective and also from a quality perspective. That's one. Second thing that we understood was the plant proteins, especially the new generation plant proteins, were not necessarily meeting the customer requirements in terms of the sensory profile, number one. The biggest and the most prevalent problem was that the plant proteins were giving some beanie taste, flavor, off notes, etc. And that's not helping in formulating the applications. So for us, the task was, if we want to solve this problem, we need to basically solve two-pronged problems. One is on the supply side. So supply chain has to be absolutely robust. The second thing is that our technology has to be, the extraction technology has to be so robust that it is meeting all the key objectives of having the right quality consistently, number one, and the right quality must include the functionality, sensory profile, and also it must be produced sustainably. So all these things that we have basically solved is through, I would say, the two-pronged approach. One is backward integration. Our business model is actually backward integrated, which means that we have strong, supply network. So we have our own farms as well. So actually we started by setting up our own farms, where we converted the farmland into organic farmland. Also, we selected the raw materials which are intrinsically sustainable. So the chickpea, mung bean, pea. So these are the legumes which essentially are not only less resource intensive, they even infuse nitrogen into the soil. So they actually accelerate the conversion of land into an organic land. So that's essentially the raw material. And we actually have also partnered with some farmers to be able to supply us the quality of raw material that we are actually needing. Also, we have partnered with the premier Indian Institute of Pulse Research, and they have been into this particular business, this industry of getting the right quality of pulses for the Indian conditions, which help us to get the proteins, the legumes which are of high protein content, are resilient, so we don't need to use the pesticides. Also, the proteins do not need fertilizers because they themselves are working as fertilizers for the soil by fixing the nitrogen. So by partnering with IIPR, Indian Institute of Pulse Research, having our own farms and having a network of farmers to be able to secure these sustainable products, we have actually secured our supply chain. That's one part. The second part is developing a technological platform, and that we have been successful in developing a technological platform which is proprietary to us, and that we call as ultra-precise filtration technology, where we actually use a multi-stage membrane filtration, which are customized for our requirements. And that's essentially the work that we've been doing over the last 4 years on research side to be able to develop a technological platform that delivers consistent quality that meets both functionality as well as the sensory profile, which is without any off notes, without any beanie taste, bitter notes, etc. So these are two, I would say, the most important differentiating factors for us that we believe is enabling us to solve the long-standing problem that industry has been facing.
Now, chickpea and mung bean particularly, they're proteins that have emerged as a promising ingredient in the plant-based food sector. So, given your expertise in the area, I'd like to delve deeper into the specific properties and applications of these sources. Could you tell us a little bit more about some of the unique advantages they offer compared to other plant-based proteins?
Yeah, so chickpea protein, for example, has first of all, as I said, one is on the sustainability side itself. So one of the most sustainable crops, I would say, are chickpea, mung bean, most sustainable. They don't require any, natural resources. Basically, these are dry season crops, so we don't need to give them water. They're grown typically in a time when even rains are limited. So dry season crops are very limited water consumption, very limited any other nutrition consumption, and they basically fix the nitrogen in the soil for rotation of the crops as well. That's one advantage. Second advantage is that from a health perspective, they are actually full of micronutrients. Besides the amount of protein, because as a dry matter, the protein content in chickpea and mung bean is up to about 25%. So high protein, but at the same time, it's not just restricted to protein content. It's also full of micronutrients such as zinc, iron, selenium, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus. So it's actually full of micronutrients. So that's, I think, the other thing that is actually helpful in this.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing is that because of our technological platforms that we have created, so we're not using any solvent, we're not using any harsh chemicals. Our process is actually water-based, but also based on the entire filtration technology. So we are from a perspective of giving a final product, we are actually much superior compared to the traditional method of production or extracting the protein. With our process, we are able to eliminate the impurities, some of the anti-nutrition compounds, some of which are responsible for the beanie taste or off notes. That we also are able to remove, but also we're able to remove some of the anti-nutrition compounds which prohibit the absorption of these micronutrients into the body. So therefore, the proteins that we produce are not only rich in protein, but they are rich in micronutrients, which are also available for absorption in the body.
You previously talked about the supply chain. A key concern in the food industry is ensuring that supply chain is ethical and sustainable in terms of the sourcing practices. So how do you address this issue with your protein supply chain? Are there any certifications or standards in place to guarantee responsible sourcing or cultivation?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, if I look at supply chain, there are a few topics I think that we should address as an industry. In the agri space, of course, plant proteins are coming from plants, of course. So the production of our proteins is taking place in an area which is considered to be, the most producing area for the pulses in India. And India, as such, is producing about 2/3 of, or even more than 2/3 of the global chickpea production. Similarly, mung bean, it's producing one of the largest quantities by far of mung beans globally. Pea as well, it's second or third largest producer of pea. For rapeseed, also about second largest producer of rapeseed crops. So India, we have actually set up the plant in India, in the region which is actually the hub of producing high quality of pulses and the crop that we're using. So one is the proximity of the raw material sourcing, so that we don't have to really import, or we don't have to bring by long distance the raw material to our facilities. That's one. That helps in reducing the carbon footprint. Second thing is that because we've set up our own farms, our own model farms that we have converted into organic over the last 4 years, we are in the process of getting the organic certification. We have partnered with the farmland, with the farmers and the FPOs, the farmer producers organizations in the nearby area, where we are able to also positively impact the farmers' income by giving them the access to the high quality seeds for these crops by way of our partnership with IIPR, which is the institute, which is actually pioneer institute in doing the research on pulses. So through a partnership with IIPR and partnership with the FPOs, we're able to bring the best of the pulses or pulse seeds varieties to the farmers and the practices which are organic in nature. And by anyways, we know that these seeds do not require either pesticide or fertilizers because they are actually very less resource intensive. So by doing this, we are able to have oversight because it's close to us. We're able to have oversight on the raw material sources, have good quality of seeds, and that essentially helps us also to get the entire traceability for our raw materials and gives us confidence that the technology platform that we have used is, not basically used for low quality of raw material. We are using high quality of raw material and using our high quality and advanced technology to actually produce a very high quality of finished goods. That's the system that we've used. From certification perspective, as I said, we have already applied for organic certification, and I think we should be able to get it by Q4 of this year for our own farms. And for the partner farms, depending upon also the requirement of the customers, if required, we can actually have sourcing from the organic farms. But if not, at least our final products also, thanks to our technological platform, the final product still do not carry any pesticide, etc. For two reasons. One, that our supply chain partnership helps us to eliminate the usage of pesticides. That's the first step. Second step is that anyways these crops do not require pesticides. So even the farmer would be inclined to actually increase the productivity, etc., do not necessarily need anyways the pesticide. Third thing is, the third level of defense for us is the entire technological platform. The filtration technological platform that we've used anyways eliminates the impurities, etc., including the pesticides. So we have three level of, you can say, protection system that we have employed.
And of course, these benefits that you can pass on to your customers as well. Now we're going to talk about the extraction process, which can significantly impact the quality and functionality of plant-based proteins. Could you describe the specific methods that you employ to extract the protein from those plant sources?
Yeah. So, like as I said, we have developed a system. In fact, this is also we started working on this platform already from the beginning, because we knew that the problem that the industry is facing, and we have actually interacted with many technological providers, equipment providers, etc., throughout the globe, and we understand the challenge the industry is facing is going to be difficult to solve without actually thinking completely different. And that's why I said, coming from active pharmaceutical ingredients industry and having worked on many different products and using very many different type of technologies for processing the products, we actually leveraged our experience on that, and we actually developed a customized system which is working on membrane technology. But it's not just a normal membrane technology that we are using. So we are using a multi-step membrane technology, customized membrane technology, that essentially helps us to eliminate. So it basically does, I would say, three benefits. Yeah, it gives us three benefits. One benefit is that it eliminates the impurities, anti-nutrient compounds, the multi-stage membrane system. The second thing it does, it also removes the off notes, beanie taste, bitter note. Initially, when we started working on our first phase and second phase of our product development, technological development, we were not successfully able to remove the off-note and beanie taste. However, in the third, phase of our technological development, we were able to remove even those, beanie notes and bitter notes and off notes. The other benefit that it does is that it ensures that the micronutrients are concentrated well. They're not eliminated. In the traditional process, they're able to generally concentrate mostly globulins. However, and albumins are essentially still filtered out. However, in our process, we are able to also concentrate the albumin. So we have a much more robust protein, which has both the components of albumin as well as globulin. It has concentrations of micronutrients, but it eliminates what we don't want. All the impurities, anti-nutritional compounds, orders, and off-notes. That's the benefit of our technology platform, and that we call it ultra-precise filtration technology. That's our proprietary filtration technology.
Could you provide any further detail on the nutritional profile of some of your key proteins? Let's stick with chickpea and mung bean, including that concentration and any variations depending on the specific product or application.
Yeah. So chickpea protein has more than 70% of protein purity. It also comes with, as I said, the micronutrients, which are long list of micronutrients like iron, zinc, selenium, magnesium, manganese, calcium, copper. So very good quality of micronutrients in the protein. It also has largely polyunsaturated fat, which is essentially a good quality of fat, as you know. Also helps, according to these scientific papers, chickpea fat has a very good quality, and it also gives, from a functionality perspective, a premier texture. So chickpea protein can be used, and we have applications developed, can be used very well for alternative for creamer, for example, or milk or any other dairy products. It's a very good product for that. Mung bean protein comes with minimum 80% of protein concentration, and it also has micronutrients, which, as I explained, for chickpea is also applicable for mung bean. Very limited amount of fat, very limited amount of carbohydrates. So very good quality of protein. From a texture perspective, also very nice texture. It can be used for egg replacement, but also for the meat replacers or other beverages.
Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about the sensory properties in a second, but in terms of customization and flexibility, meeting the needs, the diverse needs of customers in this sector is crucial. So how do you customize solutions to meet those specific requirements? Are there any limitations or challenges in developing custom products?
Yeah, so from customization perspective, while there are of course limitations, that's given by the raw material itself. However, there are still room for making some adaptations, etc. So recently, our R&D team completed a project, and that was essentially on the functional starches. So the requirement from a customer was to replace. They wanted to replace the modified starches from their applications, and they wanted to replace that with clean label starches. So our team actually, gave them a solution using chickpea starches that actually gave them the functional properties even better than the modified starches, which were modified through chemical process. And that was possible using our chickpea starches. So I think similarly in the protein segment as well, the proteins can be used for beverages because it has very high solubility. So our solubility is higher than the conventional protein which are available in the market. And similarly, the emulsification is pretty high. So customizations are possible, and that we can do also by tweaking some of our process steps. If someone wants really very high gelation, that's possible compared to someone who wants significantly higher solubility. As such, in our standard product, we have both solubility, emulsification, as well as gelation properties, which are higher than the conventionally produced proteins.
Now, Now, you talked about texture before. Now, one of the challenges, the big challenges facing the plant-based protein industry is ensuring that products, the sensory expectations of customers or consumers. So how are you addressing that issue, and what measures are in place to ensure that your products are appealing to a wide range of your customers, and hence they pass those sensory properties onto their final customers?
Yeah. Yeah, Nick, I think you touched, as I said, a very, very important topic. And also based on our discussion with the customers and industry players, I think the sensory profile has been one of the biggest roadblock why the plant protein. I think plant proteins should basically grow much, much faster. It is growing fast, I would say, but at the same time, looking at the potential and also looking at the requirement to meet the climate, action, and especially the speed which is required to really mitigate the climate change. But I think we basically need to move faster on the protein transition. And I think one of the challenge has been on sensory profile. We also faced, I must say, I must confess that over the last 4 years, we have also had our share of challenges. So when we launched the first, based on our first technological step, let's say first wave of technological development, and even after second wave of technological development, we had some challenges of, beanie node, off node, etc. However, I can very proudly say that with our third wave of technological development, and now the technology, as I said, ultra precise filtration technology, we are able to remove the beanie taste, the bitter note, the off note. So neither the flavor nor the odor is coming into the final products, and we are able to have this consistently. And that's the beauty of our technology. It is not about let's say in one batch it will be good, in second batch it will be bad. It is consistently batch after batch now consistent quality that basically will not have any challenges on beanie note or bitter note, etc.
You've covered off the amino acid profile quite well, so we're going to talk about the functional properties now. This is crucial for their application in various food products. Can you elaborate on the solubility, emulsifying properties, and water holding capacity, for instance, of some of your products?
Yeah, yeah. So the solubility, we have actually done benchmark. I would be hesitant to give you a number because in the industry, I've seen that the numbers are very differently reported, because the way the tests are carried out are also very different. So therefore, I think it's best to actually give you, let's say, based on index, how did we find compared to the proteins which are sold in the market currently. So we did a benchmark in our solubility. When we actually, based on our first wave and second wave, we were able to get solubility which was anywhere between 1.2 to 1.5 times of the benchmark material that we actually had from the market. After our third wave of a technological development, we are able to hit about 1.8 to 2x of the solubility index. So our solubility is actually very high for the products. And I think the reason for that, scientific reason for that, as I mentioned, is that we're able to also concentrate the albumins besides the globulins. And albumins are essentially helping in both solubility as well as on emulsification properties. And that's essentially something which we are able to provide from a functionality standpoint. On the water holding capacities and the gelation properties, our protein, because also there the play comes mainly from the globulin side, we are able to concentrate the globulins very, very well as well, comparable to the conventional proteins. And that's why the gelation properties and the water holding capacities are also comparable to the traditionally produced proteins. So I think if I were to talk about, for example, the some specifics of, let's say, foaming aspect. Yeah, if you are using, for example, eggs, egg is used for very high foaming or emulsification. Some of the applications which require egg, for example, baking, etc. There, if you use mung bean protein, you will be able to have actually similar properties compared to the eggs. If you look at some of the applications where people are using dairy, if you compare that with, for example, milk, eggs, etc., there if you use mung bean protein, you will be able to have actually similar properties compared to the eggs. If you look at some of the applications where people are using dairy, if you compare that with, for example, chickpea protein, you will be able to have similar or even better, properties, functional properties from chickpea protein. So I think overall, I would say the functional properties on sides of solubility to emulsification to foaming to gelation properties, we have actually a very good bouquet of proteins which are able to solve the varied and also very demanding application requirements.
Mhm. Now, given the increasing popularity of plant-based products generally, what are your plans for expanding your market reach, both domestically and internationally? I mean, you're based in India at the moment. You're a Singapore company. You've already got an international outlook. So are there any specific regions or target markets that you're prioritizing?
Yeah. So basically, we have, of course, headquarters in Singapore, and therefore, the Southeast Asian market and also Northeast Asian markets, we are catering from Singapore. Having a manufacturing base in India helps us to cater to the South Asian market very well. We're already in discussions with a company in Europe to partner with them to make the access easier for the European customers. And for the US market, we're also, we'll be showcasing ourselves in the FI North America in Las Vegas in October. And we'll be also looking at, some partnerships possibilities in the US in whichever form makes sense to actually also have access to the customers in the US. And we're also thinking of actually having our own subsidiary in the US for being close to the customers in the US.
Mhm. So big plans on the horizon. Now, bringing a new product to the market can be challenging. So how has your commercialization journey been so far? What challenges have you faced, and how have you responded to those challenges?
Yeah, I think so. What we did basically was to have, from a business model perspective, we were very clear. We scanned the whole market. We looked at various products, both from reading as well as from experiencing perspective. And therefore we selected the region, first of all, India as the place to set up the plant because of the raw material security of supplies for the selected raw materials. Second, also the location of our farmland and the extraction plant we chose based on the location where the soil conditions were most suitable, where the most of the existing production takes place for the pulses, and the quality of climatic conditions, and of course the conditions for doing business in the state of India. So that was essentially that we did well. The challenge that we basically faced, while I think we had the right technology, but it does take time. Although 4 years of time, you can see this as too long. You can also see this as too short. For us, we hoped to actually achieve this in 2.5 to 3 years time. What we achieved so far in 4 years. So for us, then it looks a little bit longer than what we had anticipated. So this was one of the challenges. And I said, we planned to, find a solution for also the entire sensory profile over already in about 2.5 years, but it took almost about 3.5, years for us to reach that stage. But we did face a challenge of really not being able to meet, some of the requirements of the customer or sensory profile initially. But then we actually were able to solve it and solve it for good. That I must say. And I think now we are in a stage based on the positive feedback for the latest product profiles. We're able to get very good, customer feedback. So now we are in the stage of, constructing a greenfield project, which can basically process 60,000 tons of raw materials annually. And so site is under construction, and the first phase of that construction will be completed, and we'll have the commencement of production from this facility in Q4 in the coming 3 months. And the first phase will only have commercial production that can take care of the customer requirements, and then we'll keep expanding that phase, coming to next phases of the production to be able to reach the maximum capacities of this greenfield project.
Mhm. Now, all of that takes money, so financial resources are crucial for growth and innovation. So, are you well funded to achieve your scale-up plans? What are your funding strategies and projections for the future?
Yeah, so we are actually well funded. So first of all the co-founders actually invested money over the last 4 years, and thereafter we also took the bank lines. So banks have been kind to give decent amount of long-term funding to us to set up
Mhm.
the plant, and we have also been able to have the external investor for our expansion of plant. So we have basically um, both hard commitment as well as soft commitment for not just the current phase of which I said the commercial production will commence already in December, latest by December, but also for the next phase, which we plan to also commission by next year, by the end of 2025. That will be expansion of the project, essentially next phase of our greenfield project.
Now, I've just got a couple of questions, Vineet. In terms of future research and development, innovation is obviously key for food tech. What are your plans for future R&D in the area of plant-based proteins? Are there any specific areas or technologies that you're focusing on?
Yeah, so we basically plan to continue to work on R&D because R&D, of course, is the key and the heart of Relsus. So even today, we have R&D is the largest team, in terms of the total team members besides the production people. Um, so we will continue to work on the R&D and strengthen the R&D. We'll basically work on two sides. One is on the process side itself. We'll actually onboard more proteins. So if I look at my R&D pipeline, there's a quite long R&D pipeline list, and which has additional plant proteins. So we'll also work on, for example, the some of the oil seeds besides canola. We'll also look at those. We'll also look at some of the legumes or some other sustainable plant sources. We'll look at those. We'll onboard those products as well. On technological platform, I think this technological platform will help us to work already on these new products as well. If there will be any requirement for tweaking, that should be also possible in R&D phase. We'll continue to also work on the functional starches. I think we have come a long way on functional starches because the side streams we are able to use them not just to sell as a just a side fiddle, but to really make a good impact on that particular aspect as well. As I said, the functional starches that we have produced, we are able to have replacement of the modified starches with similar or better functional profile. So they are the chickpea starch, mung bean starch, and peas starch. They're able to replace the modified starches. Similarly, we'll also look at adding in our portfolio the dietary fibers, which will come from also our protein supply chain. So canola protein, similarly from a plant protein, we'll be able to have also separation of dietary fibers. That's the new area. So I think these areas, as far as the protein supply chain is concerned, and then we'll also look at that will come in third phase. We'll also look at some of these low calorie sweeteners. Could be monk fruit or stevia, but that's not in the immediate horizon. But that'll be a little bit later in the third phase.
So lots of exciting plans, and perhaps we'll get to talk about canola another time. Now, you're in the plant-based sector, but obviously it's quite a wide spectrum of sources in this industry. When you look around at other areas of alternative proteins, what particularly excites you about the technologies or products that you're seeing being developed?
You mean besides protein or in the protein space?
In the protein space, yeah. I mean, your
I think,
headquarters are in Singapore, so cell
yeah,
cultivated meat is obviously
yeah. So
out
cultivated
there
meat,
already.
indeed, yeah, that's indeed an exciting area. But also fermentation, because we have some experience in fermentation area in the API industry. So for us, it seems that after plant-based proteins, maybe to expand the answer to your first question as well. So the fermented protein also could be our next area to look at, because
Hmm.
that's also an extension of our previous experience. We don't want to go too far from our let's say core experience and core competence. So one is of course extraction. This we believe, of course, we thought it was much easier than it came out to be, mainly because of the sensory profile that we have now been able to solve. But I think for us, I think natural inclination would be plant proteins and then moving to the fermented proteins. That will be our, let's say next wave of proteins.
Next
But
evolution.
honestly, I believe that in the overall journey of alternative proteins, I think plant proteins have already come to a stage of maturity from a economics perspective as well. So I think it makes sense to actually first really solve the key challenge of protein transition through economically viable protein source, and that's the thing, the plant proteins. And after plant proteins, I think the next stage, in my view, would be the fermented protein. I think the cultivated meat would, of course, also be on the horizon, but I think from a commercial viability perspective, it will take a little bit longer. At least that's my view. I'm not really an expert, but that's my view. So therefore, also for us, anyways, cultivated meat is not in our radar right now. However, after plant proteins, and we'll keep expanding the plant protein portfolio. But besides this, we'll also look at the next wave, the fermented meat.
Well, I'll be looking forward to catching up with you in the future to discussing how those plans have materialized. Vineet, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we'll get to meet face to face one day.
Highly appreciate, Nick. Thank you very much. It was indeed a pleasure interacting with you.
Thank you. Take care.